Good afternoon and a very warm welcome from the Premier Sports Studios here in Dublin. On behalf of EPCR, we're delighted to have you with us for the pool draws of the 2025-26 Investec Champions Cup and EPCR Challenge Cup tournaments. Today marks the first milestone on the road to the Bilbao 2026 finals weekend. A crucial moment for all EPCR stakeholders, in particular the elite professional clubs and their players striving for glory. But before we look ahead, it's worth reflecting on the incredible season we've just experienced. The finals weekend in Cardiff was truly unforgettable. Nearly 110,000 fans packed out the Principality Stadium over the course of the weekend, and we set our highest Investec Champions Cup attendance in over a decade. Those in attendance on the Saturday witnessed history as Union Bordeaux-Bègles triumphed in the 30th Investec Champions Cup final to take their first ever win in the competition. In the EPCR Challenge Cup, Bath Rugby claimed their first European title in 17 years, a key step in what became a historic treble-winning campaign for the club. The standard of rugby throughout was simply outstanding. Over the course of the season, more than 1.5 million fans attended our matches, and the impact went even further, with record-breaking TV audiences and unprecedented engagement across social media. A warm welcome to you wherever you are joining us from, whether on EPCR's official platforms, epcrugby.com and EPCR TV, the Premier Sports Rugby channel in the UK and Ireland, beIN Sports in France, Supersport in South Africa, Flow Rugby in the USA, onrugby.it in Italy, and Media Olympique's website, Rugby Rama, in France. Today's draws will shape the 2025-26 Investec Champions Cup and EPCR Challenge Cup by placing clubs into pools and setting the foundations for next season's fixtures. We'll explain the draw process shortly, but first, a heartfelt thank you to the exceptional players and coaches, match officials and fans who make these competitions what they are. Best of luck to those competing in the summer test matches and the British and Irish Lions tour in Australia. And to those currently enjoying a well-deserved break, good on you. Vincent, over to you.
Avant d'attaquer les tirages au sort, voici un rappel des finales mémorables qui ont eu lieu à Cardiff en mai. Le club anglais de Bath Rugby a remporté la finale de l'EPCR Challenge Cup pour la deuxième fois de son histoire en dominant le Lyon Olympique Universitaire avant de gagner la finale du championnat anglais de Premiership il y a quelques semaines. Nous avons ensuite assisté au premier sacre de l'Union Bordeaux-Bègles dans l'Investec Champions Cup à l'issue d'une finale palpitante face aux Northampton Saints. L'année prochaine, les finales 2026 se joueront les 22 et 23 mai dans le splendide stade San Mamés de Bilbao, surnommé la cathédrale du football et enceinte de l'Athletic Club de Bilbao. Nous retournerons donc au Pays Basque espagnol 8 ans après les finales 2018. Les billets pour ces matchs très attendus seront bientôt mis en vente. Rendez-vous sur le site officiel epcrugby.com et créez votre compte pour vous inscrire à la newsletter de l'EPCR pour être tenu au courant de l'ouverture de la billetterie. Avant de procéder au tirage au sort des poules de l'EPCR Challenge Cup, regardons ensemble cette vidéo des meilleurs moments du tournoi. Voilà, nous sommes maintenant prêts à effectuer les tirages au sort des poules de la saison prochaine et nous allons commencer par l'EPCR Challenge Cup avant de marquer une courte pause et de passer au tirage des poules de l'Investec Champions Cup. Pour cette édition 2025-2026 de Challenge Cup, nous avons un total de 18 clubs, 8 membres de l'United Rugby Championship, 6 clubs de Top 14 et 2 clubs de Gallagher Premiership. De plus, nous avons 2 clubs invités, à savoir le Black Lion de Tbilissi en Géorgie et les Toyota Cheetahs d'Afrique du Sud. Passons donc en revue tous les clubs qualifiés pour la saison prochaine. Les 8 clubs qualifiés dans l'URC sont Cardiff Rugby, Benetton Rugby, les Lions de Johannesburg, les Ospreys, le Connacht Rugby, l'Ulster Rugby, Zebre Parma et les Dragons RFC. Passons maintenant aux 6 représentants du Top 14, le Montpellier Hérault Rugby, le Racing 92, le Lyon Olympique Universitaire, le Stade Français Paris, l'USAP et l'US Montauban, sacré champion de Pro D2. Elma, c'est à toi pour la suite.
And here are the 2 qualifiers from the Gallagher Premiership, Exeter Chiefs and Newcastle Falcons. And finally, as we know, the 2 invited clubs are Black Lion and the Toyota Cheetahs. And the Cheetahs will once again be playing their home matches in a designated European venue, while Black Lion will again welcome their travelling opponents to the Georgian capital of Tbilisi. And there you have the 18 clubs for today's EPCR Challenge Cup draw. So before Vincent and I guide you through the draw, here are the key principles to keep in mind. The 18 clubs will be drawn or allocated into 3 pools of 6, pool 1, 2 and 3. Each pool of 6 will contain 2 top 14 clubs. As the draw will include 3 Welsh clubs, Cardiff Rugby, Ospreys and Dragons RFC, each pool will have 1 Welsh representative. The Italian clubs, Benetton Rugby and Zebre Parma, who are from the same URC shield, cannot be in the same pool. Connacht Rugby and Ulster Rugby, who are from the same URC shield as well, also cannot be in the same pool. Exeter Chiefs and Newcastle Falcons, the 2 Gallagher Premiership qualifiers, cannot be in the same pool. And the Lions from South Africa, as well as the 2 invited clubs, Black Lion and the Toyota Cheetahs, cannot be in the same pool. A maximum of 3 URC clubs can be included in the same pool, and clubs will play 4 different opponents home or away during the pool stage, and a limited number of same league fixtures will therefore be unavoidable. Vincent, over to you again.
Voilà, nous sommes prêts à commencer le tirage. Les boules des clubs seront tirées au sort par Ian Madigan, commentateur pour Premier Sport et ancien joueur international irlandais. Et toutes les étapes du tirage seront surveillées par l'avocate Dorothy Collins. Les clubs seront tirés au sort ou placés dans les poules par ordre numérique croissant, poule 1, poule 2, poule 3. Si un club ne peut pas être tiré au sort dans une poule en particulier, afin de respecter les principes clés, alors ce club sera placé dans la poule disponible suivante. Le processus reprendra ensuite à partir de la poule dans laquelle le club précédent n'a pas pu être tiré au sort. Yann, peux-tu donc, s'il te plaît, nous montrer les boules des clubs de l'URC une par une et puis les placer ensuite dans l'urne?
Cardiff Rugby. Benetton Rugby. Lions. Ospreys. Connacht Rugby. Ulster Rugby. Zebre Parma. Dragons RFC.
Peux-tu maintenant nous montrer les boules des clubs de top 14 et les placer dans l'urne?
Montpellier Hérault Rugby. Racing 92. Lyon Olympique Universitaire. Stade Français Paris. USAP. US Montauban.
Tu peux faire de même pour les boules des deux clubs de Gallagher Premiership.
Exeter Chiefs. Newcastle Falcons.
Et enfin, Yann, les boules des deux clubs invités, s'il te plaît.
Black Lion. Toyota Cheetahs.
Merci. Elma, je te laisse la parole pour la suite.
Now we have all 18 club balls in the drum. So, Ian, can you please draw the first club, which will automatically go into pool 1?
Ospreys.
We're underway. Ospreys go into pool 1. Ian, can you draw the next club for us for pool 2?
Lyon Olympique Universitaire.
So, Lyon Olympique Universitaire Rugby go into pool 2. And to complete the first phase of the draw,
Toyota Cheetahs.
the Toyota Cheetahs go into pool 3. Now, keeping in mind the key principles, we will continue by either drawing clubs directly into pools in ascending numerical order or by allocating clubs to the available pools. Ian.
Zebra Parma.
Zebra Parma go into pool 1.
Newcastle Falcons.
Newcastle Falcons go into pool 2.
Cardiff Rugby.
Cardiff Rugby go into pool 3. So now we have 2 clubs in each of the pools. Let's quickly give you a recap there. Pool 1, Ospreys and Zebra Parma. Pool 2, Lyon Olympique Universitaire and Newcastle Falcons. And Pool 3, Toyota Cheetahs and Cardiff Rugby. Ian, can you please draw another club for us?
Montpellier Hero Rugby.
Montpellier Hero Rugby go into Pool 1.
Dragons RFC.
Dragons RFC go into Pool 2.
Exeter Rugby.
Exeter Rugby go into Pool 3. And we are halfway through the EPCR Challenge Cup pool draw with 9 clubs drawn. Ospreys, Zebra Parma and Montpellier in Pool 1. Lyon Olympique Universitaire, Newcastle Falcons and Dragons RFC in Pool 2. And the Toyota Cheetahs, Cardiff Rugby and Exeter Rugby in Pool 3. Vincent, it's all yours.
Yann, on va continuer. Peux-tu, s'il te plaît, tirer au sort un nouveau club?
Benetton Rugby.
Alors, le Benetton Rugby ne peut pas aller dans la poule 1. Il y a déjà les Zebra Parma, donc ça va dans la poule 2.
US Montauban.
L'US Montauban, promu en top 14, va dans la poule 1.
Black Lion.
Le club invité, le Black Lion de Tbilissi, ne peut pas aller dans la poule 3. Il va dans la poule 1. Déjà un club invité, hein, les Cheetahs, Toyota Cheetahs dans la poule 3.
Racing 92.
Le Racing 92 va lui dans la poule 3.
Lions.
Les Lions de Johannesburg vont dans la poule 2.
Stade Français Paris.
Le Stade français Paris va dans la poule 3.
Connacht Rugby.
Le Connacht Rugby dans la poule 1.
USAP.
L'USAP va dans la poule 2. Et enfin,
Ulster Rugby.
l'Ulster dans la poule 3 pour compléter ce tirage au sort. Voilà, nous avons terminé le tirage au sort et les 18 clubs participants sont maintenant répartis dans les 3 poules, avec dans la poule 1 les Ospreys, Zebre Parma, le Montpellier Hero Rugby, l'US Montauban, le Black Lion de Tbilissi et le Connacht Rugby. Dans la poule 2, le Loup, le Lyon Olympique Universitaire, les Newcastle Falcons, les Dragons RFC, Benetton Rugby, les Lions de Johannesburg et l'USAP. Et enfin, dans la poule 3, les Toyota Cheetahs, Cardiff Rugby, les Chiefs d'Exeter, le Racing 92, le Stade français Paris et l'Ulster Rugby. Nous vous rappelons que durant la phase de poule, les clubs affronteront 4 adversaires différents, à domicile ou à l'extérieur. Les matchs entre des clubs d'une même ligue seront limités au maximum. Le calendrier des matchs, avec les dates, horaires, stades et diffuseurs TV, sera annoncé dès que possible. Les rencontres seront déterminées à l'aide d'un algorithme qui prendra en compte les restrictions des calendriers des ligues, les restrictions individuelles des clubs, les besoins des diffuseurs en termes de programmation et le résultat du tirage au sort d'aujourd'hui. Elma, c'est de nouveau à toi.
The EPCR Challenge Cup pool stage kicks off in December, and after 4 rounds, we go into the knockout stage in early April 2026 with a round of 16 followed by quarterfinals, semi-finals, and the 2026 final in Bilbao at the San Mamés Stadium on Friday, the 22nd of May. As we said, tickets for next year's finals will go on sale shortly. If you haven't already, sign up to my gain line at epcrugby.com for the latest information on tickets, and don't forget to opt in to receive the Offload, the official newsletter of the Investec Champions Cup and EPCR Challenge Cup. Our thanks for now to Ian Madigan and our scrutineer Dorothy Collins. We're taking a short break, but when we return, we'll bring you the pool draw for the Investec Champions Cup. A warm welcome back to the Premier Sports Studios in Dublin for today's crucial pool draws ahead of the 2025-26 season. We've completed the draw for the EPCR Challenge Cup pools, and we're just about ready to start the draw for the pools in the 2025-26 Investec Champions Cup. Warm welcome to you if you've just joined us on the official website epcrugby.com, and also to our friends on Premier Sports Rugby channel in the UK and Ireland, on beIN Sports in France, on Supersport in South Africa, on Flow Rugby in the USA, on rugby.it in Italy, and on Midi Olympique's website Rugby Roma. Who will your team be facing on the road to Bilbao? Well, stay tuned. But on that topic, we will be returning to the vibrant Basque City in May for the 2026 finals at the stunning San Mamés Stadium. It will no doubt be an unforgettable weekend of rugby with an incredible welcome for fans. As we said, tickets will be going on sale soon for what promises to be another great festival of world-class rugby. Make sure you sign up to my gain line on epcrugby.com and opt in to receive the official newsletter, The Offload. You'll be first in line to hear about those tickets. So following a record-breaking last season for the Investec Champions Cup, today's draw sets the stage for the 2025-26 tournament by separating the 24 elite clubs into 4 pools of 6, which will allow the pool stage fixtures for next season to be created. But as a taster for what's to come, let's take a look at the feast of rugby that is the Investec Champions Cup.
Today is another important day, for this day belongs to us, and we will fight like our very lives depend on it. This is rugby's definitive test. Nothing is greater, no victory more coveted, no contest more respected. Hallowed grounds we stand, with proud hearts, beating as one, and for the many, poised to keep our eyes fixed on the grandest prize. And when we see the banners approaching, let them come. Let them bring their armies and their legions. We'll meet them face to face. In the midst and heat of battle, we shall stand together, sound the drums, make the ground shake beneath us, listen to our roar. We shall not sit, we will rise and bring the world to its feet. This is where rugby's proven powers clash, where stars are made and champions forged. This is, and always will be, the one to win.
Some amazing memories. And on that note, we can run through the 24 clubs which have qualified for the Investec Champions Cup. Vincent, over to you.
Merci Elmar. Regardons tout d'abord les clubs de top 14 qui cumulent 17 titres des tournois de l'EPCR. Le Stade Toulousain qui détient le record de 6 titres dans le tournoi. L'Union Bordeaux-Bègles, vainqueur de la finale d'Investec Champions Cup à Cardiff. Le RC Toulon, triple vainqueur du tournoi. L'Aviron Bayonnais, l'ASM Clermont-Auvergne, le Castres Olympique, le Stade Rochelais, double champion, ainsi que la section paloise qui fera son retour en Champions Cup 25 ans après sa dernière participation. Voyons ensuite les 8 clubs qualifiés dans la Gallagher Premiership. Ils totalisent pas moins de 19 titres des tournois de l'EPCR. Nous avons Bass Rugby, champion de la Premiership, les Leicester Tigers, les Sale Sharks, les Bristol Bears, Gloucester Rugby, les Saracens, les Harlequins et les Northampton Saints, finalistes du tournoi en mai dernier. Enfin, les 8 clubs qualifiés dans la United Rugby Championship, le Leinster Rugby, qui a remporté la finale de sa ligue il y a quelques semaines face aux Vodacom Bulls, les Hollywood Bed Sharks, les Glasgow Warriors, les DHL Stormers, le Munster Rugby, Edinburgh Rugby et les Scarlets. Voici l'ensemble des 24 clubs. Elma, à toi.
So before Vincent and I guide you through the draw, here are the key principles to keep in mind. The 24 clubs will be drawn or allocated into 4 pools of 6. Each pool of 6 will contain 2 clubs from each league. Clubs from the same URC Shield cannot be in the same pool. Therefore, the Irish qualifiers, Leinster Rugby and Munster Rugby, will each be drawn or allocated into separate pools. The same principle applies for the Scottish qualifiers, Glasgow Warriors and Edinburgh Rugby. And similarly, the Vodacom Bulls, the Hollywood Bets Sharks and the DHL Stormers from South Africa cannot be in the same pool. There will be no matches between clubs from the same league. So for the purposes of creating the fixtures, each club will play 4 matches against 4 different clubs who are not from the same league, either home or away during the pool stage. Clubs will be drawn or allocated into pools in ascending numerical order, pool 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. If a club cannot be drawn into a pool in accordance with those key principles, then the club will be allocated to the next available pool. And the process will then restart at the pool into which the initial club couldn't be drawn. Also, for the purposes of the draw, the clubs will be divided into 2 tiers, Tier 1 and 2. Now, Tier 1 will consist of the following clubs: Union Bordeaux-Bègles, last season's Investec Champions Cup winners; Stade Toulousain, who won the top 14 last weekend; Bath Rugby, who triumphed in the Gallagher Premiership final; and then Leinster Rugby, who recently won the URC title. And Tier 2 will consist of the remaining 20 qualified clubs. Okay? We're ready now to get underway. Today's draw will again be made by Premier Sports pundit and former international player Ian Madigan, and everything will be overseen by our official scrutineer, Barrister Dorothy Collins. So we're going to start with the 4 Tier 1 clubs. Ian, can you please show us the Tier 1 club balls and place them in the drum?
Stade Toulousain. Union Bordeaux-Bègles. Leinster Rugby. Bath Rugby.
Now we have our 4 club balls in the drum. So Ian, can you please draw the first club, which will automatically go into pool 1?
Stade Toulousain.
We're underway. Stade Toulousain go into pool 1. Ian, can you draw another club for us for pool 2?
Bath Rugby.
Bath Rugby go into pool 2. Who will join in there? Ian, can you draw another club for us for pool 3?
Leinster Rugby.
Leinster Rugby go into pool 3. And to complete the first phase of the draw, the final Tier 1 club,
Union Bordeaux-Bègles.
there we go, the defending champions go into pool 4. Let's recap quickly just to give you a full view of that. Stade Toulousain, Bath Rugby, Leinster Rugby and Union Bordeaux-Bègles. Pool 1, 2, 3 and 4. We're off. Vincent, over to you.
Il nous faut maintenant tirer au sort les 20 clubs restants. Yann, peux-tu, s'il te plaît, nous montrer les boules des clubs de top 14 et les placer dans l'urne?
RC Toulon. Aveyron Bayonnais. ASM Clermont Auvergne. Castres Olympique. Stade Rochelet. Section Paloise.
Ensuite, les boules des clubs de Gallagher Premiership, s'il te plaît, Yann.
Leicester Tigers. Sale Sharks. Bristol Bears. Gloucester Rugby. Saracens. Harlequins. Northampton Saints.
Et enfin, les boules des clubs de l'URC.
Vodacom Bulls. Hollywood Bets Sharks. Glasgow Warriors. DHL Stormers. Munster Rugby. Edinburgh Rugby. Scarlets.
Voilà, les boules des 20 clubs restants sont toutes dans l'urne et Yann peut maintenant tirer au sort un premier club.
ASM Clermont-Auvergne.
L'ASM Clermont-Auvergne va dans la poule 1 avec le Stade Toulousain.
Orsi Toulon.
Le Rugby Club Toulonnais dans la poule 2 avec le champion d'Angleterre, Bath.
Leicester Tigers.
Les Tigers de Leicester rejoignent le Leinster, c'est la poule 3 pour les finalistes du championnat d'Angleterre.
Scarlets.
Et les Scarlets, les Gallois, avec l'Union Bordeaux-Bègles dans la poule 4. On va récapituler pour voir que dans la poule 1, donc nous avons le Stade Toulousain et l'ASM Clermont-Auvergne. Il y a déjà 2 clubs de top 14 dans cette poule, il n'y en aura pas plus. Bath et Toulon dans la poule 2. Le Leinster et les Tigers de Leicester dans la poule 3. Et dans la poule 4, l'Union Bordeaux-Bègles et les Scarlets. Passons maintenant à la suite. Yann, peux-tu, s'il te plaît, tirer au sort un autre club ?
Hollywood Bets Sharks.
Les Hollywood Bet Sharks, avec les Toulousains et les Clermontois dans la poule 1.
Munster Rugby.
Le Munster, pas de problème pour rejoindre Bath et Toulon dans la poule 2.
Harlequins.
Les Harlequins vont dans la poule 3 avec le Leinster et les Tigers de Leicester.
Bristol Bears.
Et Bristol, les Bears, vont dans la poule 4. Ce qui nous donne pour l'instant dans la poule 1 le Stade Toulousain et l'ASM Clermont-Auvergne. Nous sommes maintenant à la moitié du tirage de l'Investec Champions Cup avec 12 clubs qui ont été placés dans les poules. Dans la poule 1, donc 2 clubs de top 14, le Stade Toulousain et l'ASM Clermont-Auvergne, ainsi que les Hollywood Bet Sharks. Dans la poule 2, Bath Rugby avec le Rugby Club Toulonnais et le Munster Rugby. Dans la poule 3, le Leinster Rugby, les Leicester Tigers et les Harlequins. Et enfin, dans la poule 4, l'Union Bordeaux-Bègles, le tenant du titre, avec les Scarlets et les Bears de Bristol. C'est maintenant à Elma de conclure ce tirage au sort.
Here we go. Okay, Ian, another club ball, please. Let's see.
Cast Olympique.
Castres Olympique cannot go into Pool 1 because there are already 2 teams there from the top 14. Castres Olympique go into Pool 2.
Saracens.
Saracens go into Pool 1.
Stade Rochelet.
Stade Rochelet go into Pool 3.
Section Palois.
Section Palois go into Pool 4.
Glasgow Warriors.
Glasgow Warriors go into Pool 1.
Aveyron Bayonnais.
Aveyron Bayonnais cannot go into Pool 2 because there are already 2 teams from the top 14 there. Aveyron Bayonnais go into Pool 3.
Edinburgh Rugby.
Edinburgh Rugby go into Pool 2.
Northampton Saints.
Northampton Saints go into Pool 4.
Sale Sharks.
Sale Sharks go into Pool 1.
DHL Stormers.
The DHL Stormers cannot go into Pool 2 because of the key draw principles. The DHL Stormers go into Pool 3.
Gloucester Rugby.
Gloucester Rugby go into Pool 2.
Vodacom Bulls.
And the Pretoria-based side rounds out Pool 4. Thank you, Ian. And now that we have 6 clubs in each of the pools, that completes the draw for next season's Investec Champions Cup. Just to recap, Stade Toulousain, Saracens, ASM Clermont Auvergne, Glasgow Warriors, Hollywood Bet Sharks and Sale Sharks make up Pool 1. Pool 2, Bath Rugby, Castres Olympique, RC Toulon, Edinburgh Rugby, Munster Rugby and Gloucester Rugby. Pool 3, Leinster Rugby, Leicester Tigers, Harlequins, Stade Rochelet, Aveyron Bayonnais and the DHL Stormers. And Pool 4, Union Bordeaux-Bègles, Scarlets, Bristol, Section Palois, Northampton Saints and the Vodacom Bulls. Tons to look forward to. The Investec Champions Cup kicks off in December. And after 4 pool stage rounds, we go into the knockout stage in early April 2026 with a round of 16, followed by the quarterfinals, semi-finals and the final at the San Mamés Stadium in Bilbao on Saturday, the 23rd of May. As a final reminder, tickets for next year's finals, they will be on sale soon, and you can sign up to My Gain Line on the official website epcrugby.com and opt in to receive the Offload, the official newsletter, to get the latest ticketing information.
Voilà, les tirages au sort sont maintenant terminés. Merci à Yann Madigan et à l'avocate Dorothy Collins. Merci aux téléspectateurs de nous avoir suivis. Nous vous souhaitons un bel été et avons hâte de vous retrouver pour la reprise des matchs des clubs. Merci et à bientôt.
And if you were wondering, it's 157 days. Not many sleeps until round 1 of the Investec Champions Cup and the EPCR Challenge Cup in December. For now, it's goodbye from Dublin.